Today's lesson is correlation analysis. Correlation analysis. Analysis means the study. We are studying the relationship. Relationship of what? Two random variables. Right? So the correlation analysis is the study of the linear relationship between two variables. For example, we can study the relationship between smoking and lung cancer. Smoking cigarettes and the opportunities to develop lung cancer. We check whether there is a relationship, connection between smoking cigarettes and ability to get lung cancer. You know, the more you smoke, the chances of getting lung cancer is high. The less you smoke, if you decrease smoking, the chances of getting lung cancer is low, decreasing. So we are studying the relationship. That's the relationship. The more you smoke, the more you will get the lung cancer. The chances are there. The less you smoke, the chances are low, right? That's the relationship we are studying. So what are the two variables here? Smoking cigarettes, 10 cigarettes per day, 20 cigarettes per day, and the ability to get the lung cancer, right? The chances are high. The more you get, the more you smoke. Now we'll take this example. Reading English storybooks, right? That's one variable, reading English storybooks. 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, 10 books, 9 books. So the book's number changes. That's why it's a variable. Reading English storybooks and the ability to develop vocabulary, the number of new words. Right? The more you read, the more chances are there to develop your vocabulary. If you don't read, right, you won't get the ability to develop your vocabulary. So there's a relationship between reading English storybooks and developing the stock of vocabulary, learning new words. Now take this example, price of a phone, right? It's a variable. It can take different prices, 10,000, 20,000, 15,000, 12,000, 60,000. So the price of a phone and the ability to buy. We are checking whether there is a relationship of a price of a phone, a relationship between the price of a phone and the ability to buy it. Right? You can see if the price increases, what will happen to the ability to buy? It will decrease. If the price decreases and the ability to buy the phones increases. Here there's this kind of relationship between these two variables. There's this kind of relationship between these variables. So in correlation analysis, what we do is we are studying whether there's a relationship between two variables and what kind of a relationship is that. Right? That is correlation analysis. Now, to find the correlation analysis or to study the relationship, there are two ways. One is by drawing a scatter diagram. Right? First, you have to draw a scatter diagram and then you'll have to find the relationship. Second method is by calculating the correlation coefficient. It's a value, raw value, right? A value. Maybe it's 0.6, something like that. This coefficient lies between -1 and +1. I'll explain these things to you later, right? So there are two ways of finding the relationship between two variables. What are those two methods? First one is by drawing a scatter diagram and interpret. Second method is by calculating the correlation coefficient, right, and interpret the correlation coefficient. Now, at the exam, this is the note I gave you. It's not that clear here, but I'll just explain this. I'll read it out. The following are the marks. This is the way you'll get the question, right? At the exam, they will give you a set of data and they will ask you some question. This part downwards are the answer, right? The following are the marks of 2 examiners awarded to 10 students in an English test, right? Students, these are students A, B, C, D up to J. 10 students now. So you give a test and select a sample randomly, right? And this is the sample A, B, C, D, E, F up to J. Those are 10 students. And now if first one, we'll say Amali. Now in an English test, so we'll take the essay. Marks of examiner X. Second one, marks of examiner Y. So 2 examiners have given marks for Amali's essay, right? We'll say myself, I have given marks, and we'll say the other examiner is Manik madam. So for Amali's essay I have given 20 marks. Manik madam has given 21. For the next girl's lesson essay I have given 12 marks. Manik madam has given 8 marks. So likewise, we are studying whether there is a relationship between the awarding of marks for Amali's essay between Manik madam and me. Okay. So they will give you a set of data and they'll first one is draw a scatter diagram and mark the relationship. I told you there are 2 ways of finding the relationship. One is drawing a scatter diagram. Right? Here 2 marks. So don't take more than 4 minutes to draw this scatter diagram because the maximum you will get 2 marks. Second one is calculate the correlation coefficient using the Spearman's rank order method. There you will have to calculate the coefficient. There's a formula and this is the scatter. Now draw a scatter diagram and mark this is the answer, right? This is the diagram and you have to mark the relationship. Second one is calculate the coefficient. Here the second one, you have to draw a table, then there's a formula. You have to calculate the coefficient and interpret the answer. Third one is interpret your results using the scatter diagram and the coefficient. By using these 2, you will have to interpret the results. More or less, you will get these kind of questions at the exam, right? Now we'll go to the first one, drawing a scatter diagram and mark the relationship. Now we'll take the same example. We have to draw the scatter diagram. Okay. When drawing a diagram, a graph, there are 2 axes, x-axis, y-axis. And they have given you a set of data, 2 sets, marks of the examiner X, marks of the examiner Y, 2 sets. So how can you decide which set to take on the x-axis and which one to take on the y-axis? Usually on the x-axis we take the independent variable. And on the y-axis we take the dependent variable. For example, smoking and lung cancer. So the number of cigarettes you smoke is the independent variable. And based on that result, we get the ability, or the ability of getting the lung cancer is high. That's the dependent variable. This variable, ability to get lung cancer, is depending on the number of cigarettes you smoke on the x-axis. So here we can't decide which one is X and which one is Y. So you can select any. Either this one is X, this one is Y, or this X, this one is Y. It doesn't matter here. So we take on the X-axis marks of the examiner X. You will have to write, right? And on the Y-axis marks of the examiner Y. Then as usual, now this is the marks of the examiner X now. So these are the marks. When scaling the axis, you have to know what is the highest value and what is the lowest value. Highest value is 20. Lowest value is 6. So you have to decide a scale between 6 and 20. We can take 2 by 2. So here 0. I'm going to start from 6. 6, 8, 10. Likewise up to 20 or 22. Like that. Since here you have to put the scallop Y, here the difference is 0 to 6 and here 2, 6, 8, 2 by 2 no. That's why I have put the scallop here. You know all this, so I am not going to highlight on this. And on the Y axis, mark the lowest one, it's 8, highest one is 22. So you will have to scale between these two. So you can take here also, you can take 2 by 2 and scale the axis, right? Then you have to mark the dots. 20, 21. Amal is 1. So where's 20? 20 is here. Go upward. And 21. Where's 21? It's between these two. Better to take even numbers, right? Here. Put a dot and you can write A. B. 12, 8. Where's 12? Here. 8 here. 12 here, no? 8. That's B. C. 17, 22. Where's 17? 16, 18. So 17 is here in the middle. So 17 and 22. 22. That's C. Likewise, draw all the dots. Right? How many dots should be there? 10 students, no? 10 dots. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. Once you have drawn the dots. Now this one is the scatter diagram. Right. Once you have drawn the dots, see whether there's a particular direction. Right. That the dots lie on. We can see many dots are here in this direction. There are two directions basically. Right. This way or this. Right. Now you have to identify in which direction all these dots go. We can say here. What you have to do is circle covering a large number of dots. Circle it. That's marking the relationship. If you want, you can draw an arrow also. This way. Put an arrowhead like this. Right? Arrowhead. Here, draw a scatter diagram. This is the scatter diagram. And mark the relationship. Here, you have to draw this circle, this one, and mark the relationship. How do you mark the relationship? See whether there's a pattern. This way or this way. Right? Major here covering many dots, you can mark the circle. You don't have to mark all the things. Then it will be a circle like this. No, this way. Covering, mark. So, even when you are drawing the scatter diagram, there are 9 points, you know. Scale, naming the axis X and marks of this one. Scaling 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Scaling 5, naming 6, 7. Drawing the graph 8, naming it 9. Alright. So this is the scatter diagram and marking the relationship. That's it. You will get 2 marks for this one. So the maximum number of minutes you can get for this graph is 4 minutes. because you'll get only 2 marks. So quickly you'll have to draw the graph. Okay, that's the scatter diagram.